When scientists confront something that breaks our understanding of the universe, they usually reach for dead languages. They name their discoveries with intimidating Latin or Greek terms to match the sheer scale of the unknown. But in 2018, citizen scientists and NASA documented a completely unclassified ribbon of atmospheric plasma burning at 3,000 degrees Celsius and streaking across the night sky at kilometers per second. They didn't give it a mythological title. They named it Steve. 8 months later, far beyond the atmosphere, a team of cosmologists built a highly complex inferential model to map the equation of state for dark energy. They fed it 60,000 simulated exploding stars. They also named it Steve. Down in the digital realm, the default human dropped into the infinite unbuilt void of Minecraft is named Steve. When MIT researchers built an artificial intelligence agent designed to learn, navigate, and survive inside that world, they called it Steve 1. An unexplainable atmospheric ribbon, a cosmological prediction engine, and an embodied artificial intelligence. They all sit at the very edge of human complexity, and they all share this aggressively ordinary name. To understand why, we have to trace this anomaly backward, deep into an institutional network chasing the ultimate goal of human continuity, surviving biological death. The trail starts in 2003. A group called the National Center for Science Education was dealing with a persistent tactic from creationists who would publish lists of dissenting academics to claim evolutionary biology was in crisis. The center needed to respond, but they refused to play the game of counting authorities. Instead, they launched Project Steve. The rule was simple. You could only sign their counter-petition defending evolution if you held a PhD and your name was Steve, or a variation of it. Since Steves make up roughly 1% of the population, every single signature automatically implied 100 more scientists standing right behind them. They chose the name to honor the late evolutionary biologist and paleontologist Stephen Jay Gould. The list quickly filled with elite thinkers across multiple disciplines. The cognitive scientist Steven Pinker signed on almost immediately as Steve number 4. Project Steve overwhelmed the illusion of a divided scientific community. It shifted the defense of science away from holding up a few exceptional individuals, revealing instead the massive, distributed scale of the people actually doing the work. Over the years, many of those same evolutionary biologists, cognitive scientists, and AI researchers started showing up in the same rooms, frequently at places like the MIT Media Lab. They were circling a very specific, ambitious problem: transhumanism and the mechanics of preserving human consciousness after biological death. When internet sleuths found real legal documents linking several of these scientists to the controversial financier Jeffrey Epstein, they committed a massive error in pattern recognition. They took a genuine roster of scientists, saw the proximity to a disgraced patron, and hallucinated a dark criminal sex ring. The documented historical reality is entirely different. These researchers were gathered because their patron shared their intense fixation on continuity, the question of whether a human mind can be copied, compressed, and carried forward into the future. Treating this network as a mere criminal conspiracy blinds the public to the actual topology hiding in plain sight. This was a coordinated, world-altering scientific pursuit of immortality. That pursuit comes into sharp focus with Steve number 300, the physicist Stephen Hawking. Hawking built his career theorizing that black holes are reconstructible relational fields. He argued that you can infer all the information trapped inside a black hole simply by reading the data left on its boundary. In a tragic echo of his own physics, Hawking's paralyzed body became exactly that kind of boundary. To communicate, MIT and Intel engineers built algorithms that had to infer his massive inner intellect from the faintest biological signals, eventually relying entirely on a single cheek twitch. This diagram shows a geometric model of Bayesian prediction. It illustrates how the system didn't try to store Hawking's entire brain like a file cabinet. It used sparse data to map his habits, predicting what he intended to say next, inferring his whole thought structure. Hawking's technological life is the ultimate proof of concept. By externalizing his language and intent, he proved a mind can survive physical discontinuity through relational mapping. We can now draw a straight line between the AI predicting Hawking's mind, the cosmological AI mapping dark energy, and the digital agent learning to navigate Minecraft. All three of these disciplines are executing the exact same operation. They are trying to extract massive, terrifyingly complex systems from tiny, sparse data traces. When researchers bump up against the infinite, they name these concepts Steve, because the word acts as an epistemic decompression layer. It takes the terrifying, unclassified unknown and makes it approachable. Calling a cosmological model or a 3,000-degree plasma ribbon Steve achieves domestication without diminishment. It brings the sublime down into the room so humanity can sit across from it and actually get to work. Project Steve itself never stopped growing. In 2009, a project built entirely to defend evolutionary biology reached its 1,000th signature through a botanist who was literally named Stephen Darwin. A traditional statue honors a single genius by freezing them in the past. A living list of over 1,500 Steves does something far more powerful. It proves that the weight of scientific inquiry doesn't rest on one untouchable, irreplaceable mind. The work is distributed across a massive, living field of individuals, continuously carrying the effort forward. Steve represents the continuity of human knowledge itself. It is the survival, the relentless iteration, and the triumph of our collective intelligence, extending far beyond the limits of any single life.